So we've got a new behind-the-scenes photo from Revolution of the Daleks, which reveals the new Dalek design. So, for the 10 people that still watch Doctor Who, let's take a look. Now, the first thing to bear in mind is that this is not a full-on replacement for the Time War Dalek design. The Time War Daleks will be appearing in this episode alongside this new Dalek here. So while this is a new design, we have seen something very similar to this before in the New Year's Day special Resolution, which featured a damaged, rusty reconnaissance Dalek that had rebuilt its casing from old parts it seized, and 100% Sheffield steel. Now, what does have me a bit bamboozled is I'm wondering how much of that Dalek was scrap looking at the non-damaged, non-scrap version that we see here for Revolution of the Daleks. While definitely cleaner and more of a black colour than the rusty metal that we had last time, the top half of this Dalek is identical to its Sheffield steel counterpart, which leads me to wonder how much of that 100% Sheffield steel Dalek was really 100% Sheffield steel. I guess it was more like 50% Sheffield steel. Now, at the time Resolution came out, I really didn't like this look, because I remember its big reveal, is you see it coming through the smog, and there's like sort of this orange fog everywhere, and you see this blue light, and it's like, oh, it's a Time War Dalek, awesome, and it comes through, and you just see this Dalek with this massive fat base, and this tiny little skinny top section to it, and I was just like, what is that? I would be lying if I said I hadn't grown a fondness for it, though. It's a scrap Dalek. That's kind of cool. And it certainly looked like a battle machine. So now that I've kind of warmed up to that, to see it in its non-rusty, non-damaged form is actually quite interesting also. But what I will say is, I actually really like this design. Obviously, it's very much a departure from the classic Dalek design, but it definitely has enough homage to classic Dalek designs for me to say, yeah, that works. One observation I have with this is the paint job and the choice of colors really reminds me a lot of, say, like a Death Trooper from Star Wars, which really isn't a bad way to go. This looks very Star Warsy in my opinion. And the skirt section with the orbs on it on this version definitely looks a lot slimmer and more proportionate than it did in Resolution. The hemispheres no longer look like these big bulging fucking massive balls, you know? And one positive thing I had to say about the Resolution Dalek was that it did look like a battle machine, and same goes for this. This looks like a very practical design, and that's what I really like about it. Now look, please do not get me wrong when I say this. I do not think that this is an improvement on the Time War Dalek design by any stretch. The Time War Dalek is kind of the perfect update of the classic Dalek. But I think that this Dalek here has done some really cool stuff with this design that could justify it being the next Dalek design. That could justify it being a full-time replacement for the Time War Daleks. Now, don't misconstrue me. I don't prefer this to the Time War Daleks at all. I prefer the Time War Daleks. They are perfect Daleks. They are my childhood Daleks. But I think it is time to rest them. I think it is time for a new full-time Dalek design. And I think this would be a worthy candidate, because while it is a departure, everything about this looks mechanical and practical in a way that Daleks before haven't necessarily conquered. The middle section where the gun and the claw are looks like a turret. You can see the kind of mechanism below it, allowing it to swivel. This looks very functional. I know that the turret thingies on the Time War Daleks could swivel also, but it wasn't obvious in its design. This here looks much more practical and like a battle machine. This version here looks like it is supposed to rotate like a turret. Now, the Dalek neck bin design, the one we're familiar with, it's always been a pretty cool design. You know, it looks like this sort of grill, maybe ventilation or something. But its function has always been just so the actor inside can see out. And that's really it, you know? We don't really have any idea as to the function of that little grill in the actual show. Very little has really been said about it, whereas this here looks like a functional rotary mechanism. It's got kind of like a gear look to it, which makes a lot of sense for a practical update to the Dalek design. Do I think it looks better than the grill? No, I really don't, let me stress that. But it looks practical. This looks like a functioning turret war machine, which is why I think you could justify this being a full-time replacement. Another thing is that this design is just in a completely different style to the Time War Daleks, so seeing them side by side is probably going to look a bit strange like it did with, say, the new Paradigm Daleks when they tried to have them side by side in Victory of the Daleks. It's a totally different overall aesthetic. Now, obviously, one major departure with this design as well is the skirt section is very different, the way that the orbs are sort of laid out, and it's got these little ventilation bits on the side. the base now kind of climbs up the rest of the skirt. This whole thing just looks like a very modernized, very practical take on a Dalek. And I really, really like it, actually. It's got very much its own identity. Now, I will say my interest in Doctor Who is kind of a bit all over the place lately. I didn't like Series 11. I thought Sacha Dhawan very much carried Series 12. Series 12 was definitely more entertaining. I really just want to know, like, what kind of executive would greenlight a total continuity change like what they did at the end there. But I don't really mind. I'm kind of past the point of getting bent out of shape over Doctor Who. But what I will say is I'm very much looking forward to Revolution of the Daleks, because we've got Daleks on Earth again. We've got lots of them. We've got 2 companions leaving, so that's going to at least have some kind of interesting storytelling going on there. And allegedly, possibly, this is just rumor, so, don't, take it as gospel, but we might be seeing Captain Jack Harkness return in this episode to face the Daleks as well, which is gonna be great if they do that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This has a lot of the things I've been asking for from Doctor Who so far. We'll just see how it plays out. I'm not very fond of the 13th Doctor or her companions, and they are very much the driving force behind any episode, so it's not necessarily going to be a masterpiece, but I am just looking forward to seeing a Dalek invasion. What do you think, guys? Comment below and discuss, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, why don't you head over to channelpup.net, where you can visit our blog page, Dr. Blogtopus, but you can also buy merch, such as the official Channel Pup replica hoodie. And I mean, if you insist here, guys, maybe hit subscribe, maybe hit the like button, and in the description below are the links to my social media handles, including the Patreon, where your contribution can help me run this channel and really keep it alive. That aside, I am really grateful that you checked out this video today. Thank you so much for watching, fellow home dog. See you on another video.